Hi everyone, this is Shirley from Shirley's World, and this is the chat video that I'm going to ask you when I ask you to think of things that you'd like to know. They can be about anything, reselling, eBay, Poshmark. I mean, I'm not an expert on those things, but it can be anything about my life, my animals, my little homestead, whatever. So let me get the chat up here so we can chat. Sometimes it takes me a few minutes to get this right. I don't know why. You'd think I'd have this figured out by now. Okay, there I am. So the chat should be coming up here live. And I did put out a thing on Facebook that I was going to do this, and I did mention it yesterday on my video I did of what sold, the what sold video. And did anybody see the little video I put on this morning? I made a trailer. It's called, I made it in iMovie. You can either make a movie, which is your regular videos, or you can make this little trailer. So I was fussing around with it and came up with this little thing that I put on. It's the one that's right before this one. I put it on either last night or this morning. It was fun to make. I like to do that kind of stuff. So, Ann Gregory, hi, I'm glad you made it. You have my list of questions here, and you can ask anything while you're live here. But I wanted to wait till people came in, if there's anybody going to come on. If not, if you watch this afterwards, feel free to make any comments or ask me any more questions. I'll try to answer them by writing the answers to you if they're in the comments after this is done with. But this morning, I will tell you, I got back a little while ago. My granddaughter's birthday is in a couple days, so we were going to go out to lunch today, sort of meet halfway and go out to lunch. And then they canceled this morning. And then they called back again and said, oh, we can come. They, you know, something had happened. They didn't think they could come, but now. So we did meet. We met at about 1:30 today, and we had lunch at a place called Houlihan's. And had a nice lunch, and I gave Ava all I had. I didn't expect to meet this quick. When I called her yesterday or the day before, I thought we'd be getting together maybe next weekend. I hadn't bought her birthday present or anything yet, so I had a quick get together, a card, and I just gave her some money, which that's actually what she wants now. She likes money and gift cards. You know, she's just getting to be 12. And so I have 2 grandchildren. That was one of the questions about my kids. So let me get that done here. I don't know who asked me that. Somebody asked me about my family. I have 2 children. My son, Carl, what's the process of keeping track of your inventory? Do you number each item, and how do you store your hard goods? Okay, let me tell you about my kids first, and then I'll go right to that question. My kids, I have a son, was firstborn. He is now 54. Can't believe it. And my daughter just turned 50. So both of my kids are over 50 years old. I can't believe it. And then my daughter is not married, and my son and his wife, Linda, they have 2 children, my 2 grandchildren, and their name is Ava, and they named their son Jack after my husband, Jack. So they are 10 and 12, my grandchildren. So let me answer this question before it gets lost here. What's the process of keeping track of my inventory? All of my inventory is, my clothes inventory is numbered. After I photograph and measure, I put this tag on each little bag. I put it in this clear poly bag, and I put the measurements on here, and I put a bin number. This is in bin number W for women and Q. So I have some of my bins, all the men's things start with an M, like M-A, M-B, MC, and all the women things start with a W. So that's how I do the clothes, and they go in these clothing bins. That's what you see all around the room here. Now, because I do mostly clothing, and I just really started doing more hard goods, I don't have a good system for hard goods yet, let me tell you. I just put S for shelf. That doesn't really tell me. I will have to come up with a better system. They are on a shelf. Shoes are also on a shoe rack, which their numbers are like a SR, or it used to be just S for shoes, but now I have to have an S for shelf. So that's not nearly as good as the system I have for my clothes. So if I get more and more hard goods, I'm going to have to come up with numbers on my shelf so that I can find things faster. But right now, I don't have many hard goods, so it's pretty easy for me to find. I have a bunch of bookshelves in that room back there, and I have a closet back there with more shelves on it. So far, they can fit on those shelves, and I have lots of room yet. So I just have to hunt for the things if I sell something. So that is how I do my inventory. It's the clothing inventory that I worry about, because there's a lot of clothing. I have nearly 2,000 pieces of clothing. I think I'd have to look at what it is, but it's just under 2,000 pieces of clothing. So if you lose one of those notes it's on, or something gets mixed up in the inventory numbers, it's a lot of work to go through bins and hunt for the items. So that is how I do that. Let me go back to my list of questions here. Brookie Lou, she's not here yet, but Brookie Lou, her husband wanted to know what I like best about my community that I live in. I live in a small town, not in the town. The smallest town that's close to me is Medina, Ohio. They have, like, I think a population of between 28 and 30,000. I live in the township. I'm not sure what that consists. I don't know how many people are considered in the township, but it's the country area around the little city, around the little town of Medina. Now, Medina County, that's a big area. That includes several different communities, but I live in Medina Township. So it's a small community. I really like it here. What do I like about it? I was married to a policeman, a cop. I've had to deal with the police and fire a couple times, not because I did anything wrong or not because I had anything happen like a robbery, burglary, anything bad, but because I needed an ambulance a couple times. I locked myself out of my chicken coop one time. I had the fire guys, the firemen from the township. They came over and they had to cut a lock off of my chicken coop so I could get in. The chickens were in there and I could not crawl. Of course, you can't crawl through the little, at least I can't, the little pop door. So I really felt stupid calling them for this, because hanging right on my wall in the garage was a bolt cutter. You know, most cops had a bolt cutter. I know what it was for, but I could not make it work. I wasn't strong enough to cut this lock. So I called them and they came over and they were so nice about it and it was no big thing. I gave them some eggs. Another time is when the deer got caught in the netting. I called the policeman. That was an emergency. I consider that's an emergency. A deer was caught in the poultry netting fencing and he wasn't going to get loose. So both the police and the firemen came for that. I like it because of that. I like because of just the small town. And the center of this small town is has a gazebo, and it's just a square, Medina Square, and has some nice little old shops in it. And I just really like, I've been really happy. I've lived here about 16 years now. I really like, I like the country. It's building up more and more. I wish it wouldn't, but that's how things go, you know. So, Corey Stern asked me what was the best sale that I ever had. I have not made any humongous high dollar sales. I think probably the best sale I made was that vintage suit that I made. I think I paid like $6 or $7 for it, and I sold it for $125. And another thing recently I sold was a toy. It was an electronic ball. I had just got it, and I paid $3.59, I think, for it. And I looked it up, and I found out it was going for a good price. I put $79.95 on it, and I sold it within a day. So that was a really good sale, too. But I haven't had any sales where I've made $300-400 or anything. So I don't have anything for sale for that much, for one thing. What would I like to do if I could do anything? Now, what would I be, let's see, what would I like to do if I could do anything? Yeah. If I could do anything and I wasn't afraid to fly, I don't fly anymore, I would like to go to England. I'd like to see England. I'd like to see Australia. But because I won't get on an airplane anymore, it's just too stressful. I probably won't ever do that, but that's two things I would like to do. There was another question on here. What if I was able to do anything, what would I like to do if I was able to do anything? And this may sound a little strange, and it has a connection to going to England. I have always wanted to be able to talk in a British accent, to have a British accent. I even went as far as, because you can learn to do anything on YouTube. And I thought, well, look at all the actors. They learn to talk in all kinds of different accents. I mean, you should be able to learn to do this. So I went on, and there are places on YouTube that will teach you different things about how to say words and how to talk in a British accent, but I just never got it down pat at all. But I would just love to be able to just talk in a British accent. I don't know why. I'm English. But yeah, it's kind of strange, I know, but okay. Somebody asked me about my antique store. Marie asked me about my antique store. I think 100 is a huge sale. Yeah, it's a great sale. Yes, for sure. I wish I could sell a lot more things for 100. But yeah, my sales range right around anywhere from $16 to $24. Most of them are, if I don't succumb to the best offer thing, most of my sales are right around that area. Antique store. Yes, I had an antique store. I think we closed it when we moved to Medina because it was way too far. It was in a town called Avon, which is way north of here, way north. I'm south of Cleveland. That was northwest of Cleveland. We had our antique store for, I think, what was it now? I sort of forget. My memory is horrible. We had it for 12 years, I think. 12 years, maybe longer. In those 12 years, we moved it from a tiny little space to a little century home, which was tiny, in this little village of Avon. And then we moved up to the road, which was another century home, which was a bigger space. And we moved in with a couple other dealers. And our store was called Woods and Goods in Avon. If anybody ever visited, let me know. We carried mostly antiques, including furniture and small goods. But we also carried primitive type crafts, if you know what that means. I liked primitive antiques, but we carried other types too. But the craft type things I liked were sort of primitive. I wish I would have brought a couple here to show you. If you know what I mean, they're not crafts. They're not cutesy crafts. They're more not strange looking. Next time I'm on, I'll show you some of the craft type things that we would sell in our shop. And but besides that, I did sell things like that I would buy wholesale. Like we sold the Boyd's bears. We sold the little figurines of the Boyds. We sold those. Then I got into stamping, and we sold a lot of stamping supplies when stamping got really big. The rubber stamps, you know, make cards and all that kind of stuff. I had one whole room that was full of that type of thing. But the antiques were furniture and just small goods. And we would go to auctions. That's where we got most of our auctions and estate sales. That's where we got most of our antiques. My husband, why we started this, my husband Jack, which was my second husband, he was the cop. My first husband, I was married for 12 years. My kids are to my first husband. And we got divorced when my kids were 6 and 10. And down the line, I met my second husband, and that's who I was married to from then on. He was a cop, and he loved vehicles. Was an auctioneer, and he loved auctions. Hi, Delta 4. I've never seen you here. Welcome. One of his uncles was an auctioneer, so he loved auctions. I had never been to an auction in my whole life. So we started going to auctions, and they are fun. They are a lot of fun. So we got into buying, you know, I'd bid on some things and buy some things. Well, he was into Hickory. Hi, my rock star. You're 55 and single. I can imagine myself being single for the rest of my life. Yes, and being a reseller also to support myself. Well, yes, go to it, girl. You do that. He loved to buy boxes of miscellaneous. This is what got us into trouble. We lived in a house in Parma, or Parma Heights, and we had a big double garage, and we filled up that whole garage full of stuff from auctions. And we had a garage sale one time. This was just a garage sale. And Parma, Ohio, is almost known as like the garage sale capital of the world, I think. But they're very popular, garage sales in Parma. So we had a garage sale, and I put it in all the papers. There was no social media back then. You had to just list it in the little newspapers, you know. We made $2,000 in this garage sale, and there was no furniture. So that gives you an idea of how much stuff there was in the sale. So I told him that, oh, you're driving, be careful. So I said, before we go to any more auctions, we've got to get a space. We've got to get a store or something. So that's how we came to getting a space in a place and starting our first Woods and Goods store, which grew from there. And after, when we finally, I don't know if we ever really made any money. We made some, but we made the most money is when we sold everything out when we decided to quit after we moved out here. It was just too far, like I said, to go all the way to Avon from Medina. So, aha. Yeah, a couple of you know each other. That's good. Great. Yeah, so that's how we had an antique store. I still learned a lot, of course, having an antique store. It helps. I do remember some things about antiques. So if I do find antiques in the thrift stores, I am able to sort of look at things and know if things are good to buy or not good to buy. And I do still have a lot of antiques in my house. The things that I didn't really love, that I didn't want to sell, are in this house. If I would ever get this house all cleaned up, I would love to take y'all on a tour. It would have to be just a video, but I would take you on a tour and show you things. So that is about my antique store. Marie also asked me about my life's journey. Well, that's way too big of a topic to have just a chat about. I've been, after high school, I went into nurses training. I became a nurse. I worked in a regular medical floor. I worked in a medical surge floor. I worked in pediatrics, and I ended my career the last 18 to 20 years. I worked in the emergency room, which was my favorite. Am I ready for spring? Oh, I sure am. Yes, it's snowing sort of right now. Just a real fine snow out today. It started about 3 o'clock this afternoon. Let's see. After I was a nurse, like I said, for 20 some years. I just got completely burned out, and I quit far before I had to. I quit in my late 40s. So I didn't work till I was 65 for sure. But my husband, he had worked 25 years as a cop, and they made a rule right about when he turned 40. They passed a law that if you had worked 25 years in the police department and you were 40 or above, you could retire. And so he thought, oh, they made this law just for me. And he retired for a short time. But then they sort of sucked him right back in, and he became the warden of the prison that they built in the city. It was a jail. It wasn't a big prison. It was a jail. They built a brand new justice center and everything. And my husband was a really smart guy. He had a college degree and everything, and he wrote all the procedures and everything for this jail, and then they made him the warden. So he was a warden until he got sick with leukemia. So he retired as a cop, but then he was still in the sort of in the same type of thing. So let me see some more questions here. The best my health problems. I don't want to go too much into this because very boring. I'm old and I'm not going to talk about my health, except that I do have, as many people I know have, a lot of trouble with stress. I do have IBS. If anybody has it, they know what that is. Stress makes it much worse. I have a lot of anxiety, and I worry a lot. Now, you'd think that somebody that worries a lot wouldn't have worked in the emergency room. Well, I didn't worry back then. This is just recently. I mean, within the last 10 years or so. My mother was a worrier. I mean, she was the queen of worriers. And we never understood it, my sister and I. But now I'm as bad as she is, or was, I'm sure. And the trouble is, I am passing it down to my daughter. She is becoming, she's as bad as I am about animals. She is bad as I am already, and she's just 50 years old. So I'm sorry that that's happening, for sure. But yeah, I have anxiety disorder and all that crap. So yeah. I lost my eye. I lost my eye on a golf course. I was hit by a drive right off the tee, right smack in the eye. And no, it wasn't my husband. It was some kid that was playing along with us. And my husband was a really, really good golfer. And I had started to golf with him a few years before, and he had taught me to golf, and I was okay. But the hole before, this happened on the 16th hole of Ridgewood Golf Course in Parma. the hole before, I had won the hole, which meant I got to hit off first. But the women's tee was like down here, and the men's tee was up here on a hill. So I hit off first, and then I went and stood behind a huge tree. I mean, this tree was, and the next one that hit off was my husband. He hit off. And then this kid hit off. His ball was a huge slice. I think it's a slice that goes to the right. I'm not even sure. It's like a banana ball. And it went right around the tree and struck me right through. I had sunglasses on. Hit me right through the frame of the sunglasses and hit me smack in the eye. It did not even break an orbital bone. That's how dead center it hit. And my husband just remembers me just saying, "Oh no." And they ran down. I was, of course, on the ground, and my face swelled up like a balloon, which cut off the pain. So I didn't have much pain at that time, not till I got to the hospital. And the ambulance came, and they took me by golf cart to the clubhouse, and then the ambulance came. Of course, I knew all the firemen. I knew everybody because I was going to my own emergency room, which was like within 3 blocks of Ridgewood Golf Course. So anyway, that's how I lost my eye. And that was a long time ago. And yes, you get used to having one eye pretty easily, actually. And I have a prosthetic eye. So as far as the other things, my gut gives me the most problem. I'm scared to death of the dentist. I have dentophobia. That my biggest fear is going to the dentist. I hate it. I've always hated it. So let's go to the next questions here about my animals. I have always had animals. Ever since I was little, we've had animals. We always had a dog, some cats. That's mostly what we had. My first dog, our first 2 dogs when I was growing up were black Cocker Spaniels. The first one was named Smokey, and the second one was named Becky. And we had numerous cats, which had kittens, you know. We also had a fox terrier in there someplace, and parakeets. We have parakeet birds. And then the only time I didn't have any animals was when I was in college, of course. But when I was married, we had dogs. We had, I've had dogs my whole life, and cats. We've had dogs, cats, a ferret, a big, huge white rabbit. We've had numerous guinea pigs and gerbils. My daughter had a snake till she found out she had to feed it little live pinkies, which are tiny mice. Then she took it right back to the store. She wouldn't do that. So what else do we have? Besides fish and parakeets and things like that. Always had animals. I can't imagine even living without having some sort of pet. Hickory, you have dentophobia too. Yeah. You know, I've never had nitrous oxide. And I just read someplace, somebody was talking about nitrous oxide and how they liked it. Or they were asking other people how they liked it. And all these people chimed in that they loved it, they loved it, they loved it. I am thinking of next time that I go and have to have anything done, I'm going to ask about that. I mean, is it safe for me at my age to have nitrous oxide? I mean, they put me to sleep for some surgeries in the last few years. I would think it would be okay, right? But I'll see. I would like to try it. it's got to be better than just having Novocaine or xylocaine and just being awake and tense and just like this the whole time. Yeah, we'll have to talk about this, Hickory, about the nitrous oxide. Right now, I have just one dog. I work with the Pointer Rescue Organization, and I usually have two, but right now I just have Dexter. And all our dogs have been rescue dogs except for one that we bought for my daughter, black lab. She had a lab before that was, I think, just from the pound, what they used to call the pound, that her father had got her. And then when he died, he lived till he was 17 years old. He was a big black lab. And when he died, it took her forever to get over him. And then my husband, Jack, and I bought her from a breeder, a really good lab. We tried to get one that looked similar in size because there's two types of labs. They're the American and the English. And hers was more of the leaner, longer-legged one, the American version. The English are stockier and they're shorter. And so we found a breeder not too far from here, and we did buy a puppy. And there is on one of my YouTube videos, it might be under Shirley Corwin instead of this Shirley's World Vlog. There is the night that we gave her the puppy. It was a surprise. It was a Christmas surprise. And we had her go around the house and open boxes, and it led her to clues to another room, and it's on there. And it makes me cry every time I watch it. But it's on there somewhere. It's worth watching. It's cute. So I did adopt an old monk. What was monk? I can't think of it. It's gone. You know, the big dogs that carry the whiskey barrel. What am I trying to think of? I can't think of the name. He was 8 when I got him, which was really, really old for this kind of dog. Please tell me, somebody, what the name of the dog I'm trying to think of. This is what I hate. One of the things about old age I hate is this, your words just leave you. St. Bernard. Thank you, Anne. Yes, St. Bernard. His name was Monk. And he was 8 years old when I got him. And we got him, and he lived till he was 13, which was a long time because he was already really old when we got him. So I had some wonderful years with this dog. I still miss him. He was the sweetest soul ever, besides Spirit. Was Dexter's sister, not really, but another rescue, a female pointer. She was also one of those rare spirit souls. But yeah, so the cats, we've rescued so many barn cats that they wouldn't fix, that they would just keep having kittens after litters of kittens. And we would, the barn we were at, we would take them and get them fixed. And we rescued a few of those. Those are gone now. The last one I had of those, well, no. My feral cat that I brought in, her real name's Angel. I call her Mama Cat. She's one of the rescues from the barn. And Now I just have her and Maddie, who was from a kitten crazy rescue. That's the name of the rescue. And let's see, and my chickens, my horses, of course, they weren't rescue horses. We bought them. They were old. They were older horses when we bought them. But people that have horses, most of them, I would say we are. When we buy a pet or get a pet, and I consider horses a pet, I don't consider them livestock. We keep them for life of the animal. So when I got Preacher, my quarter horse, he was 16 years old when I got him. And he's now 26 or 27. And Echo, my niece got him when she bought him when he was just a colt, just a foal. I think she either saw him born or she was in the barn in Pennsylvania where he was born. Fell in love with him. She had two little kids, and they knew nothing about horses or riding or anything. And she thought, oh, she'd, get this horse and raise it with the kids and they'd be able to ride it. And that doesn't happen if there's any horse people around. So then she discovered, well, horses are really expensive to keep. So she pleaded with me to please take this horse, Echo. He was just a colt, 18 months old when I got him. We brought him from Pennsylvania to the barn I was in, not too far from here, in Hinckley, Ohio. And had him there, and then when we moved, of course, with then we got Preacher. So we had Preacher and Echo, and then my daughter bought an Arab. How old was he when we bought him? He was older too. His name was Satire, and she had always wanted an Arab, and he was a fully trained riding horse. And so we had 3 horses, my daughter and I. So now I have 2. She still has 1. Satire died when he was 33 or 34. And she now has a new Arab, but she's not in the same barn I'm at. She's in another barn. And I have still have my 2 horses, Preacher and Echo, which I will always have. Can you say hi to my friend Negro? That's not nice, I don't think. I think I need a moderator. I don't have a moderator. But if I'd ever get enough people in here to have a problem, I would get one. Because we don't do that kind of stuff on here. So anyway, let's get back to my questions here. Chickens. I have, how many years ago, when I first got chickens, it was like 4 or 5 years ago, when I first decided I wanted to try to have chickens out here in the country. So I bought baby chicks. They came by mail. If you've watched any of my videos or my blogs, I was blogging back then. I have a blog that's on. It's still on. I haven't blogged in like a year, but it's still on there. I have been blogging, or it's been on there since 2003. So I blogged for a long time, and it's still on there, called Shirley's World. And if you go on along the right-hand side of it, everything's in categories so that you can read things It's all categorized, different things. But I went, once I started to vlog, I stopped blogging. So that's why they stopped. Hickory, yes, you could moderate me for sure, but I don't know how to do that. How do I make you a moderator? Do you know how to do that? I'm afraid to do anything for fear I turn the whole thing off. Vlogging is easier, yes. I think it is. Once you get past the first fear of doing it, which I'm long past that, as you can tell. Let me tell you about my chickens. My chickens, I started with 6, I think, and then with chickens, you have to realize that you're going to lose some chickens. And retired resellers, yeah. You're 66, aha. I'm so happy you found me too. You lose chickens, you lose them to predators, you lose them, they just sometimes drop over dead and you never know why. They are prone to get respiratory illnesses, and they die. They don't live that long, you know. I have never gotten one past 5 years old, to tell you the truth, but they can live longer than that. They can live, people have them 6, 7, 8 years. I only have hens. I don't have a rooster. And they lay eggs the best, say, the first couple, 2, 3 years, and then the egg laying sort of dies down a little bit. You still get eggs, but a lot of people that have farms then use those chickens for meat chickens, which of course I couldn't do that. I named my chickens. My chickens are pets along with everything else. So I get different breeds because I like the different colored eggs. So I have 8 chickens at the moment. I'm getting 6 to 7 eggs a day. Think about that. That's a heck of a lot of eggs. So I have to give them away. I have a couple people I give eggs to all the time. I can only eat so many eggs. Okay, my eggs. I have 8 chickens right now. I have 2 what they call Easter eggers. One lays blue eggs. One is an olive Easter egger, and her eggs are sort of olive green. Then I have Betty, the barred rock, and my Easter eggers. Their names Dixie Chick, and Daisy. And Betty is a barred Plymouth Rock. That's her breed. She lays a tan egg, brown egg. Miss Marple is named after Agatha Christie's Miss Marple. She's a buff Orpington. That's that gold-colored one that you see. Then I have 2 white Cochins. They're called Cochins. They're real fluffy white, and there's Susie and Sasha. Those are the 2 white ones. And then I have a silver-laced Wyandotte. That's the breed, and her name is Lacey. And then I have the one that lays those chocolate-colored eggs. They're real dark brown. They look like chocolate. And her name is Coco Chanel. And she's a black, what is she? A black copper marin. All eggs are the same inside. It's just the shell that's different. So I feed all organic feed. So my eggs are all organic. And if I get too many eggs or the person stops taking the eggs that I give them to, I may put a little sign out front this summer, because I'm going to have a lot of eggs come summer. So Okay, Hickory, thank you so much for joining. I'm so glad you were here. Hey, Shirley, this is Opie from school. We used to go down by the... I love... Yeah, I don't know who you are, Anthony Jacob. I'm not going to read that out loud because, you know, I'm not good at picking this kind of stuff up. Oh. Now, Anthony, there's probably a reason why you're lonely. So anyway, I think I've gotten through all my questions that you people have asked me. And I enjoyed this, everybody coming on. And if you come on later, if you have any questions that I haven't answered, you can still ask questions and I will send you a comment back to you. But this has been fun. I would love to do it again sometime. And if my sister isn't on here tonight, but the next, I have a lot of things to list and a lot of hard goods. I haven't taken pictures of my hard goods that I got, the DVDs and the toys and things, so I have to do them yet. So maybe tomorrow, but because I got busy today with going to lunch and I didn't get out to the barn. So I may have to go out to the barn tomorrow, see my horses. Yeah, I would have to delete you, Anthony, but I'm going to close for now, so it won't matter. So I'm going to say goodbye to everybody, and I will be on again with my next little haul or a What's Sold video. So see you again. Bye.